Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to A3 Math. So today, we're going to be factoring quadratic polynomials with single and multiple variables. So what we know so far is we know how to use basic factoring identities, such as our difference of squares. And we also know how to use our identities to factor basic quadratic polynomials with single variables. Today, we're going to look at the cross method of factoring. We're going to apply this for not only single variable polynomials, but also multiple variable polynomials as well. So let's get into it. So factoring one variable quadratic polynomials. Well, we know our general form of a polynomial, quadratic polynomial, is px squared plus qx plus r. So when p is equal to 1, this makes it a lot easier to factor our polynomial. So for an example, like x squared plus 4x minus 5, p is equal to 1, so we just have x squared. For the cross method, what we do is we write down all our factors of our first term and all our factors of our last term. So let's go ahead and do that on the side here. For x squared, our factors are simply x and x. What about for negative 5? Well, for negative 5, we simply have negative 1 and 5, or negative 5 and 1. Great. Now for the cross method, we write our factors vertically with a line dividing our factors of our last term. So same thing, negative 1 and 5, and negative 5 and 1. The goal of the cross method here is to find the factors that add up to our middle term. Add up, in this case, to 4x. So let's go ahead and cross multiply out our factors. So we have x multiplied by 5 and x multiplied by negative 1. So first, x multiplied by 5 is simply 5x. X multiplied by negative 1 is simply negative x. We go ahead and add up our bottom line, and we have 4x. This is our middle term. Great. So these are our factors. If this was not our middle term, if we did not sum up to our middle term, we would simply go ahead and continue our cross multiplication. So we would go x multiplied by 1 on this side, and x multiplied by negative 5. But in this case, our first factor worked. So we're done. We just write out horizontally our factors. So x minus 1 and x plus 5. If you FOIL this out, you'll get back your original question of x squared plus 4x minus 5. This is nothing new, just the cross method is something new. So what if p does not equal 1? What if p does not equal 1 in our general form of px squared plus qx plus r? Same exact rules apply. It's just a bit more difficult as you have more factors of your first term. So let's go ahead and try one. 8x squared minus 2x minus 3. So again, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to write down all our factors of our first term. So if we do that on the side here, we have 8x squared. And now it's important to note that we're only writing the positive factors for our first term. Only the positive factors for our first term. So what do we have? Well, we could have x and 8x. And we could have 4x and 2x. Right? And what about for negative 3? remember, because we also have to write out our factors for our last term. Well, -3, we simply have 1 and -3 and -3 and 1. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and write out our vertical factors. So x and 8x, 4x and 2x, 1 and -3, -3 and 1. Now we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. So we'll start with these factors here. So we have 4x multiplied by -3, which gives us -12x, and 2x multiplied by 1, which gives us 2x, positive 2x. Doing the addition on our bottom line, we get -10x. -10 does not equal our middle term in our question. In this case, it's -2x. So we have to continue. Let's try -4 and 1, giving us, or sorry, positive 4x and 1, giving us 4x, 2x and -3, giving us -6x. Going through the addition at the bottom, we have -2x. Perfect. That is our middle term. Therefore, we simply write out our horizontal factors. 4x minus 3 and 2x plus 1. So nothing changes when p does not equal 1. We just have extra factors, right? For our first term, we just have extra factors. But the same exact rules apply with cross multiplication as well as the addition on the bottom row. I want you to pause the video and try this one out yourself. Did you give it a try? Perfect. Let's go ahead and work through it together. So in this case, p does not equal 1, right? So we're going to go ahead and write down our factors of 3x squared. For 3x squared, we simply have x multiplied by 3x. We're also going to write out our factors for 2. In this case, we have 2 times 1 and -2 times -1. Those are all our factors for positive 2. Now we go ahead and write out our factors vertically. So we have x, 3x, and we have 2 and 1 and -2 and -1. Now we simply cross multiply. Here we have x. Here we have positive 6x. Do the addition at the bottom. This is giving us 7x. 7x is not our middle term. Our middle term is 5x. So we're not done. We have to continue. X times -1, giving us -x. And 3x multiplied by -2, giving us -6x. Doing the addition, we have -7x. Again, this is not positive 5x. So what do we need to do? Why did we not get the right factors? Well, we didn't write down all our possibilities for our factors. So you might have thought all our factors are only 2 and 1 and -2 and -1. That's correct. But we have to write down the inverse of those as well. So here we have 2 and 1. Well, is not a factor of 2, 1, and 2 as well? It is. And for this case, we have -2 and -1, which is also -1 and negative 2. It's important to note that we only have to do this for one of the sides. So we could have actually flipped our x and 3x as well. But if we flip it for this side, we don't have to flip it for our first term here. So let's go ahead and continue our cross multiplication. Here we have x times 2 and 3x times 1, giving us 2x plus 3x. Doing the addition at the bottom is giving us 5x. 5x is our middle term. We are done. Now we simply write out our horizontal factors. So in this case, it's x plus 1 and 3x plus 2. Now, something new. So what happens when we have more than one variable? What happens when we have more than one variable? So something like x squared minus xy minus 6y squared. What do you think we do in this case? Well, it's simply the exact same thing. We're going to write down all our factors of x squared. In this case, it's x and x. We're also going to write down our factors of negative 6y squared. Negative 6y squared. In this case, we have negative 6y and y. We have negative y and 6y. We have negative 2y, 3y, and negative 3y and 2y. And now we're just going to simply cross multiply, the exact same thing we did for one variable problems. So we write down our factors, x and x, negative 6y, y, negative y, 6y, negative 2y, and 3y, and negative 3y and 2y. Again, we're looking for terms that add up to our middle term. In this case, our middle term is negative xy. Again, we're just going to cross multiply. So here, our first multiplication, we have xy minus 6xy. Doing the addition, we get negative 5xy. That does not equal our middle term, so we have to continue. So now we have x multiplied by 6y, giving us 6xy. And we have x multiplied by negative y, giving us negative xy. Doing the addition, giving us 5xy, positive 5xy. Again, not our middle term. Let's go ahead and continue. In this case, we have x multiplied by 3y, giving us 3xy. And here we have x multiplied by negative 2y, giving us negative 2xy. Doing the addition, we're left with positive xy. Close, but not exactly our middle term. Our middle term is negative xy. So we have one more factor to get through. Here we have x multiplied by 2y, x multiplied by 2y, giving us 2xy, and x multiplied by negative 3y, giving us negative 3xy. Doing the addition, we have negative xy. That is our middle term. So now we know we have the right factors. We simply write them out. So we have x minus 3y and x plus 2y. So the cross method makes factoring very easy. If you don't believe how easy, or if you don't believe we got the right answer, all you have to do is simply FOIL out our final answer, and you should get back the original question. Now I want you to pause the video again and try this one on your own. Did you give it a try? Great. So in this case, our p term is not 1, right? So p does not equal 1. But that's no problem. We know how to solve problems like this. We're going to do the exact same thing. So we have 8x squared, and we're going to write down all the factors of 8x squared. Well, we have 8x and x, and we also have 4x and 2x. Great. Now let's write down all the factors of negative 3y squared. Of negative 3y squared. We have negative 3y and y. And we also have negative y and 3y. Great. Now let's go ahead and write down our factors vertically. We have 8x and x. We also have 4x and 2x. On this side, we have negative 3y and y, and also negative y and 3y. We're going to go ahead and cross multiply. So we have 4xy, and we have negative 6xy. Doing the addition, we're left with negative 2xy, which does not equal our middle term of 10xy. So we continue. We have 4x times 3y, giving us 12xy. And we have 2x multiplied by negative y, giving us negative 2xy. Going forward and doing the addition, we have positive 10xy. And this is our middle term of positive 10xy. We're done. We just have to go ahead and write down our factors for our final answer. So we have 4x minus y and 2x plus 3y. And that's it. You now know how to use the cross method for factoring.